Hey gents, welcome to our Gents Talk. My name is Vikas and I'm with Tulani. Today we are talking about blended families, and that's a topic that we just want to have a conversation about. And welcome Ndate Tulani Mazibuku.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ndate Vikas, and it's good to be with you here to have this conversation with you. Blended families. So this is a topic that is close to my heart. One, because I am actually part of a blended family, and I know that there's quite a few gentlemen out there as well who are part of the blended families. But I think with us sharing this content, we can help each other in terms of leading in a blended family.
Yeah.
Let me just get to it. So with me, before I got married, I already had 4 kids. Before I was saved, I was just living a very plainly put reckless life, because mausa khule kasi, when you start having your first child, you get double out. I know you are the man, then you get a second child, and until you actually realize yonke lento le, it can one be very costly, because raising a child is very costly. But also another thing is, once you've got a couple of women pregnant, as a man of Christ, it's almost impossible. Actually, it's impossible to marry all of them.
Yeah.
So you can't even do right by any of them. But yeah, 4 kids before getting married. Then eventually I ended up getting married to the mother of my second child. So we got married. After we got married, then we moved in together. So then my firstborn daughter moved in with us.
Okay.
So that also then presented certain challenges, because with my 2 daughters, they've been together ever since they were babies. When I was fetching them over the weekends, they would come together, and so they grew up together. And to them, this half-sister thing doesn't operate. They are sisters, plain. So I brought this one along to come and stay with us. But along the way, you realize that, there's certain things that are not really going the way that they should, and sometimes you feel like the other one is not being treated the same as the other one is being treated. To me, remember, these are my kids.
Yeah.
So whatever love that I have for them, even when we were together, Bazong Vagashela, it would just be, But then I realized that my wife had complaints, my ex-wife had complaints with my first child. Even small things like fighting for the remote or what channel to watch. It was always an issue when she was involved. So eventually I then decided, let me sit down with her around this issue, because I picked it up. And when I sat down with her to speak to her, I said, listen, is there maybe an issue that you want us to talk about? Because I see that you are not entirely 100% happy, especially with regards to the child, the firstborn child. What is happening? And then she then said, you know what, to be honest with you, I felt like you ambushed me with this whole thing. You didn't really have a discussion with me, but you just decided to go to umntana lo uzozazohlala nathi. So it was not a case of let's discuss, can she come and stay with us? So I just feel like you forced her into me, and at the end of the day, to me, this is difficult, because first, I've never stayed with you, so I have to learn your habits and how you do your own things. Then there's also your child as well.
Same time.
Yes, so to me, it was a bit too much, and so forth and so on. Okay, well, we had that conversation. Then there came an opportunity for us to move from where we were staying further into Centurion. So then it became an issue with regards to the school for my firstborn daughter. Then I decided I'm going to take her back to her granny as we move to Centurion. So we moved then to Centurion. Then my firstborn daughter had to go back and stay with her granny. It obviously broke me, because now I've introduced her into this life, and now I'm almost taking it away from her again.
Yeah.
Well, eventually then that marriage didn't work out. Yes, my child did come and visit, but for whatever reasons, various reasons, the marriage didn't work. So we got divorced in 2017, and I'm still with 4 kids. I meet my now wife in 2017. She's got a son. And then I tell her, okay, mina ngiza ne-4 yami, so already nje sihlangene kanje sinabantwana abayi-5.
Yeah.
Wonderful person. We introduce the kids to each other. There's flow, and eventually we get married 2019. Then we move in together. So it was me, my wife, my firstborn daughter, and her son. All the other kids, bahlala nabo mama babo. So the relationship that I have with her son, who's my son, very good, you know, because I know that it's very important that you have a relationship with her, because that can easily break you
Yeah.
as parents. Because if your son doesn't like me, or if I don't like your son, then it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
So we built those relationships, and the relationship between my wife and my daughter couldn't be better. I promise you, we are a team. These kids, her son can't go to her and try and say something bad about me and vice versa, or try to manipulate the situation, because you know kids can't do that.
Yeah.
So fortunately, we are that type of a unit. I mean, when it comes to our finances as well, because I'm also in the business space, so my wife also has another card that she uses for the business. So my daughter, she knows about that. So whenever she would go to my mom or to her mom and say, I need 1, 2, 3, and then mom says, no, we don't have money for that, then she would say, can't you use my dad's card?
Yeah.
So that was a problem. And my wife came and we sat and we spoke, and she said, I don't think Guguti is right that the kids think there's your money. And then we immediately addressed it.
Fix it.
Said, this is not my card, it's her card, I have my own. And there's no my money, there's no her money. When the business is not doing well, we know that we will not be without a roof over our head, or without food, because she will take care of that when because she's got her own, she's got a monthly salary that's coming in. So there's no my money, there's no her money,
Yeah.
there's our money. So there's no way that one can, they know that if I go to this one, he's gonna tell his wife, or if I go to this one, she's gonna tell her husband. And we are teaching them that there's no segregation here. Mom is mom, dad is dad, the money is for the household. And honestly speaking, I think I love the fact that how open we are with my wife, in terms of we are very transparent. We don't bottle things up. If she's not happy about anything, she knows immediately, come, let's sit, let's talk.
Yeah.
And same with me, if I'm not happy about something, we sit. I can't even tell you when was the last time I had a fight with my wife, or argument for that matter. So that's what it is then with regards to that blended family. My other daughter then from my previous marriage, she comes quite regularly, you know, to visit my son. She comes to visit. It's just that the other daughter, she's in the Free State.
Yeah.
So the logistics there aren't as easy. But my wife knows all my children. She has a relationship with all of them. Then we were blessed with a 2-year-old. We've got a 2-year-old daughter now, you know, who is, we call her the glue. And she brought literally everyone together. You know, there's a new baby in the house. Everyone is happy. Everyone is excited. And I believe it was all in God's plan that, you know, he builds all of this. Because without God, I don't think we would have survived, because my wife is born again, I'm born again. So we understand that we are both first children of God before we are anything else.
Yeah.
So we always exercise that grace before truth type of a system. You know, even though someone is at fault, before you tell them the truth, you first exercise the grace, because that's where your judgment will decide how this thing goes. Because it's easy for arguments to just spiral out of control because you wanted to exercise the truth before the grace.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then well, now the 2-year-old, she's 2 years old now, so she's no longer that ooh, mush, nice, because now she's got her own mind. And when she doesn't want, and that's it, you know. Yeah. But still, so that's where we are in our blended families. I think I'll just maybe ask you to share your part, and then as we move into this conversation, because I also want us to touch on the relationships that now between the mothers of the children with my wife. Yeah.
No, beautiful, my brother. So I am also in the same kind of setup. I've got 3 kids,
Sure.
which one is before my marriage. So I usually just say I've got 3 kids.
Yes, yeah.
Without
explaining
separating as to one is where, and so, but because we're having a conversation, so 2 is in my marriage, and 1 is the one I got while I call it before Christ.
In the world.
In the world.
Yes.
So I also was busy gallivanting, and then a 20-year-old boy was conceived. He's now a young adult.
Wow.
So
20
years old.
Oh, 20 years old.
Yeah,
oh,
20
okay.
years old.
Wow.
So with me, so the difference is in the beginning, because it was. I always say it is because of before Christ. I didn't know better then.
Yeah.
So when I introduced my son to my wife, it was more forcing him into her. It was a matter of just know that I've got a son.
Yeah.
And I'm an accountable man. I'll take care of my son. So it wasn't more of an open conversation
Sure.
to say, look, this is what I'm coming with and all that. Just more, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah.
That,
So I'm
what
gonna
son.
take care of my son,
I'm
whether
gonna
you
take
like it
care
or
of,
not.
Of my son. So I was already in a defense mode, you know, and that's how a blended family can actually be chaotic.
Sure.
When you're not really open about it.
Right.
So even when going to visit my son, I'll tell her in the morning. Today I'm going to visit my son. I'm going to Soweto, and she'll be like, okay, but I'll be like, no, but I am going.
Sure.
And I'll up and go, and I realize this is actually not bringing a harmony into the relationship.
Yeah.
All right, and then came a point where I sat down with myself and said, you know what, I can see, I'm not blind. I can see what I'm doing to this woman.
Okay.
I'm gonna make her resent my son.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, because
Yeah.
it's more like he's taking priority over everything.
Yeah.
And also started creating other perceptions to say, are you really going to see your son? Because if you're really going to see your son, why are you being secretive about it?
Sure.
Why should I know in the morning?
Yeah. Wow.
Then I came to that realization, man up, face my wife and say, look, I've realized that I'm not handling this whole
Wow, man.
having a baby issue all right.
Sure.
So this is my son, you know, how can we go about it? And she says, but I never had a problem with you having a son. I
Yeah.
only have a problem with you the way you are handling matters between, you know, your relationship with your son,
Sure.
how you visit him.
So
it's
the
not built in.
approach
It's-
to all of this.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's as though I'm being told, as though I'm not part of this,
Wow.
you know, relationship.
Sure.
I fell in love with you, knowing very well that you've got a son.
True.
Because my wife and I, we know each other from a long time ago, from school.
Oh wow.
actually.
That's wonderful.
You know, so we know each other. And
Yes.
She knew all this time that I've got a son, you know. Then, a long story short, then we sat down, then we set some boundaries, you know, do it more like afresh to say, this is who my son is, and introduce my son to my wife, and then my son never stayed with us,
Okay.
but he visits very regularly.
Okay.
And we've got you know, my wife and my son have got a very beautiful relationship. But I had to create that environment
Yes.
by you know, moving away from forcing my son into my wife to actually
Sure.
reintroducing
Wow.
and saying, this is who he is. He's
Wow,
part
man.
of us.
That was a beautiful.
You know, and my wife treats my son like he's her own.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, when my son needs something,
Yeah.
he goes to my wife more than to me. There's a lot of things that I hear
Wow.
from my wife that this is what you know, your son is looking for.
Sure. And all it took was a different approach.
Different approach.
And now
Just sit down
their
and say,
relationship is
now they on top of the world.
Thriving.
You know, they
Wow.
talk. Recently, he was planning to come. I heard from my wife that he's planning to come.
sure. Wow, man.
You know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm loving this.
That's beautiful.
So in most cases, he's having conversation. He's got a better relationship with my wife than with me. Sometimes I'm jealous.
Wow.
It's
Sure.
just one of those things.
Yeah,
But
no, that's
you know,
wonderful, man.
if it wasn't for Christ,
Sure.
I don't think that would have happened, because it
believe
had
so.
to take me to change my ways.
Yes.
To submit to Christ.
Yeah.
And realize that, you know what, I'm the man. I'm the one that's leading. And I need to lead even in this relationship.
Correct.
I need to lead in making sure that there's harmony in the house.
Sure.
So my wife is not feeling the presence of my son. My
Yeah.
son is not feeling the presence of my
Correct.
wife.
Because
You
of
know,
the approach.
Because of the approach.
Yeah.
Then they all understand. So I'll say to brothers out there as well, you know, be the man.
Yeah.
Create an environment, a healthy environment.
Yes.
To be in a blended family.
Sure.
So it's not all gloom and doom to be in a blended
Correct.
family.
Yeah.
You can still be a family that is as though there is no one from outside.
Wow.
But by just leading in that environment,
I hear you.
creating a platform
I hear you.
to say, this is a home.
Yeah, that's
Whether
true.
you know, because my son can't suffer because of my previous
Yes,
relationship.
that's
my
true.
wife the same way.
Yeah.
can't suffer because I come from
Correct.
this other relationship.
Yeah, but instead now you just need to find a way to bring them together.
And we move forward
You know,
as a family.
now that
Because
you mentioned
you
that,
don't want him to feel excluded. You
Yeah.
don't want her to feel
That's true.
outcast as well. To
Yeah.
say, oh, I don't get involved. So that means I'm not part of the family.
sure.
You know.
It's now that you're mentioning all of this, I also I saw that my ex-wife came and said it was an ambush and all of that. That's the approach that I had to say, well, this is my child, and what am I expected to do with? She's coming in, and you don't realize how difficult it might be for the next person to actually be okay with the whole situation, because you are not seeing it from their perspective.
Exactly.
So I appreciate that, what you are saying. I think also maybe I owe it to that previous experience to be where I am now. And also the approach is different, because when I got married, I said to my wife, I would love for our daughter to come and stay with us. What is your feeling? And she said, well, I would love also for my son, because I don't want my son to be raised by my mother and all of that.
Yeah.
And if we are okay, then let's bring everyone together. And it requires a lot of grace as well from God, because, without God, it would be very difficult to lead in a blended family.
Yeah.
And you also thank God for having such a supportive wife as well, who basically you share the same principles in terms of life aspirations and all of that, And in terms of relationships, your son has a very good relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
Is there a relationship between your wife and the mother of your son?
No, not really. So I'm the one I'm the link. I'm usually the one that talks to the mother of my son.
Yeah.
So, and we were never married. So the only conversation we would have was about my son, schooling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
All the needs.
Sure.
They don't really have that relationship, and I don't think at that time it ever materialized to say I need to have a relationship with this person.
Yeah.
Because I think I was handling it very well. I never made her feel as though there's something else that's happening on the other side.
Yeah.
To build the trust.
Sure. The reason I'm asking that is because it's not always straightforward like that.
Yeah, no, it's not.
My wife actually does not have a relationship with any of the women, or nor do I have a relationship with the biological father of my son.
Yeah.
One thing that I know is he's got a relationship with his biological father. However, when we are in my household, we do things the Christian way. We pray, we go to church, and that's our lifestyle.
Yeah.
And one thing that my wife made very clear, because like you said, that when you were going to visit your son, you would only decide in the morning to go. And then your wife starts to thinking, is he going to see the son or is he actually going to see the mother? So my wife just said to me, make sure that when you go there, you are going there to pick up your child. You don't go inside the house. You wait, and you sure your child has a phone, you phone the child. Yes, it's okay to have a relationship with them because you need to talk to them anyway. Mara, you don't need to go to Moyomland Upume Motweni. And I respected that because I also want to create a safe environment for her.
Yes.
So that when she knows that I'm going to fetch the child, I'm going to fetch the child, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So, but I do thank you, man. I think we would need to have another part 2 of this conversation because I believe there's a lot more that we can share, and maybe also invite other men to share their stories about leading in a blended families. But I truly appreciate it. And to the men out there as well, we really, truly appreciate you tuning in, and we hope that this conversation has helped you in one way or another to understand and in leading a blended families. And we also urge you gentlemen to please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also like our Facebook page. Until we meet again for our next episode, keep well. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're done.